Morning. It's Monday morning, but it's a holiday morning today. Quebec's national holiday is on the 24th of June, which was Saturday. So they've carried it over till Monday, so there's not much really to do today. Well, there's lots to do, but I have to go and see JP. I hope he's at work. He usually is. Self-employed like we all are. Anyway, what's been going on? Well, as you can probably see here, the old Series 1's had a bit of a wash and brush up, because I lent it to Jean-Francois, who had the 2.25 5 bearing engine we fitted in here with an Ashcroft box conversion kit. And it was his son's graduation. 16 years old, so he borrowed the car and he went off to school in some sort of style, I suppose. Car went well, because I'd never even driven it. I'd never even put it on the road since I put the engine in. But I think there's a little bit of a problem with the clutch. When Andy and I tried to fit this engine, we had a hell of a job. We were up almost all afternoon to fit that engine. We just didn't have enough space clearance to get the damn thing in. And we used some guide studs and pulled it in with some bolts, and I think what's happened is it's damaged the clutch bearing inside the gearbox, because when you put your foot on the clutch now it makes a racket. It didn't do that before, so looks like I'm going to have to pull the gearbox out, because I'm certainly not taking the engine out again. I might do that later on this week. What's other things? Well, remember when we were doing some work on our it was Jeff's transmission. I've got it here. I've got it ready to take down to the shop, and as you can see, that's the sort of condition once it's been through the bead blaster. It comes out really, really nice. But again, if anybody's interested, I did another modification on the old bead blaster. I changed the nozzle size from 8mm to 10mm. This is the spare gun I've got. And just to show you inside, that's where your air jet comes through, so that creates a vacuum and it pulls all the sand up here and it really forces it through, or glass beads, whatever you're going to use. This is 4mm. I tested that with a drill, and I opened that up to 4.5mm. Boy, did it make a difference. Did it make a difference. The thing is, I've got a lot of compressed air. I've got a lot of compressed air, so it's not too bad. One trick every time I do transfer cases and blasting and things like this, I always think of something new, a better idea. I'm going to think of this as a better idea. And my new better idea is to put all the bolts back in the holes so they don't fill up with glass beads or sand. Why didn't I think of that before? Because I used to tap them all out before, now there's no need. But you'll notice how quickly the bolt heads go rusty. I just quickly buff them up in the grinder with the wire brush, but they do go rusty quickly. Now they say that you can put some product in to stop it, water going rust, the water corroding, anti-corrosive. It's expensive, and considering mine's not circulating all the time, it's using a lot of product, so we'll have to see about that. That worked really well. Now, one other thing I was going to tell you about the sort of modification week. Well, not really modification week, but I have I've upgraded all my blowguns to these, and these are brilliant. In fact, I bought one off Amazon, and it comes with a kit like this, because this is what I was really interested in. There's the name, Winsky. Doesn't quite sound very good, does it? But you got a gun, you got the nozzles, the little needle nozzles for getting really down deep into threads and things like this. Regular tip nozzle with a rubber tip on, so you're not damaging surfaces. And this one here is like a volume, and so is this one a volume. And boy, do they blow. You've also got some extensions as well, which is really good. So I actually ended up buying 3, and this is the one I use for the bead blaster now. You can notice it's not got a nozzle on the outside, but it's round the edges here, and boy does it push some volume out. because this is one of the most important things when you're doing wet bead blasting, is to get them dry and get as many beads out of the castings as possible. Now I usually used to leave them to dry and then blow them out, but you can always miss a few, so it's best to get them out straight away. I would have thought if I had the facilities or the room to put a small oven in here just on a low temperature, as soon as they come out the bead blaster, whack them in there, dry them off and whack them in there so they don't go rusty or anything. Yeah, no, I actually like the design of this. This is good because it's all aluminium. It's not like these ones I used to have before, plastic fantastic. They tend to leak all the time. The nozzles break off, and look, you've only got that little thing there, you've got no choice. Hooks to hook it onto, look at this thing, they're pathetic. And they've got a little one at the front. Well, this one's got one at the back, which is okay, but you can also hang it by the handle, which is really neat. Unlike one of my first ones was like this one, you're looking all over for a hook to put it on, so that's it. And of course you can't buy parts or anything like that for these, so throw it on the floor, Mike. I got some of these cheaper ones from China once. I got these off eBay, and they're worse than useless. I thought being metal they'd have some sort of O-rings in them. Yes they do, but you can't buy them. I'll throw that on the floor too. So we're stumbling all over my airlines. Yeah, this came out really well. Let me move the camera just a little bit and I'll show you the casing. You can see, if you can pick up how bad this is here. There's a great big ring in there. There, you can probably see it there. How it's gouged away. This was all full of silicone. So somebody's been in this before. And it's not too bad. That's the only thing I've found wrong with it. Again, I've kept all the bolts in the casing, but let's go and have a look at the geary bits. So here in the parts washer is the centre differential. You can see how clean it is. The bearings are just like they were put in last week. Really, really nice and clean. But I came up with a cunning plan to make this not just clean, but really clean. Because when I took this out, this was black filthy with old EP90 oil and burnt on oil. So I cleaned it off initially with this. Then I thought about a secret weapon. So what's the secret weapon, Mike? Well, you probably know that I've had for quite a long time an ultrasonic cleaner. And I haven't used it for a long time because, being an inept fool that I am, sometimes I would leave bits in the basket and forget about them, because once the water was dirty, you sort of put things in and you go and have a cup of tea or do something else and you forget about it. The machine switches off, then you come back next day and everything's rusted. Really, really bad. You wouldn't think it, but I'll perhaps do an experiment on that, why you shouldn't leave things in ultrasonic. So, how can I get that really clean, that differential, in an ultrasonic without damaging it? I filled it with diesel. I filled it with diesel and I took it up to about 40 degrees Celsius and then started all the vibrationary processes, and as you can see, I thought that was clean when it came out of the parts washer. Externally it was clean. Put it through this and this is absolutely black filthy. But, you know, to getting all the other bits clean, I mean these are still a bit oily with diesel, I haven't washed these off yet. But everything's come up really nice and it hasn't rusted. So that means it could be a good little time saver, especially when it comes to bearings. Now I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, you shouldn't put bearings into ultrasonic cleaners, it will kill them and it'll do this, that and the other and it'll add to global warming. This has been through this is the original bearing, gone through the ultrasonic with diesel in it. Now, you should never really spin a bearing with air, but this is the front bearing, same technique, with oil in it. It's perfect. It's just like it's come out of the box. So one chap wrote to me this morning. He said he's got like 5,000th of an inch envelope play on here. Well, I just wanted to I can kill two birds with one stone because I can show him this. This is the only thing that supports it, and inside here there's a gear supporting this inside the differential case. So if it's moving 5 thou there, it's not too bad. Ball bearings aren't really designed to be level. They've got either thrust this way or thrust this way. So, well, not so much that way, but more this way. So that's what they're sort of designed for. But like I said, not too bad at all. In fact, I was looking at that centre differential and I put both shafts inside there. Lovely and tight, really nice and tight. Is there any need to strip it down? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Am I going to change the bearings? No, I think they're fine. Everybody sort of gets obsessed with changing bearings and throwing perfectly good ones away. All they need is a bit of an adjustment up and away you go. But I want to show you something because now's a great opportunity to show you about clunking drivetrains. So as you can see down here, here's the differential. And this is your selector between high and low gear. Right? This is your low gear. This is your high gear. But notice the teeth here. There is a full set of teeth on here and every other one's missing on here. The reason for that is it would be very, very difficult to select gears and get them correctly lined up, so they miss one out. And that is why if I go like that, you are never going to get rid of that. It's too clunky. See what I mean? And that's why when we were doing an experiment on the test bench, if I was to hold the output shaft and hold this into gear whilst it was moving, there was no noise, but when it was free running, it was chattery, because that's the gears all catching up with themselves. Is there anything to worry about? Nah, not really. That's how it was. That's how it always will be. On Patrick's Puma, it was a finer cut tooth on the gears. We've been through this before. I don't want to go through it again, but it's a lot finer, so there's a lot more, how do we say, mesh going on. There wasn't so much clearance between the teeth, so that knocked down a lot of noise. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to putting all these bits and pieces back together. You can see, look at that. That's just lovely, lovely, lovely and clean. And is there any reason to change the bearings? No, not really. I mean, they're not blued, they're not marked. And sometimes, like I say, the important thing about like taper roller bearings is to keep the exact same outer as with the inner. Keep them together all the time. This is why when I take the intermediates apart, I always put a cable tie between them to keep them together. So you know that that one has grown with that one, not with that one. And then you can use them again, if they're in good order. If in doubt, throw them out. If they're blue, they're chipped, they're scored, you'll soon see. But like I said, when you see a new bearing, compare it to an old one, you think, oh, it's a pretty waste of time changing that. So that'll keep Jeff's bill down because he's got enough bills as it is. So that's my job for today. I'm going to go and, like I say, it's 8:30 now, so JP should be at work, hopefully slaving over a hot lathe, and we'll see what comes on. So I'd like to get this gearbox out, get it machined, come back, so we can put it together while it's still fresh in our minds, because I've got to do the R380. When I took the R380 off, the shaft was absolutely perfect at the back. So again, that's another little thing we don't have to buy, hopefully. The oil was a bit dirty, but that's sort of irrelevant. We'll have a look inside and see. Ta-da!